And we are live. What is going on, Edgerton? Leicester, all over the place, really. Sorry, Alex. Again, sorry, we're probably a bit late. We were just at the match. There was nobody to do post-match. The thing is, we were going to analyze the match. We're going to talk about the 1-1 draw. In the grand scheme of things, it just doesn't seem like the appropriate thing to do, really, does it?
Not really, because we should have won this match, and we capitalized in that first half. We outplayed Brighton like no problem at all. We scored in the first minute in the second half, and then we parked the bus and just didn't play. And strictly, to put it into perspective, you can blame the players all you want, but the person who decides that type of tactics is Rodgers, and he got everything wrong.
Yeah, no, he got things wrong again. Not just that. I was kind of one of the players that I'll give Rodgers time, and just looking at the evidence now, I don't believe it. I mean, I think I'm going to get the table up now, but I think we've lost as many games as Burnley this season. We've not had back-to-back wins this season. We did have Ant in the comments as well. And he tried to join. One of the reasons why we were a little bit late is because, again, Alex joined a little bit late, no problem his. But also Ant was trying to join, and there's all sorts of connection issues. And there's disadvantage of going live. One of the things, again, as Ethan puts in the comments, tactically got it wrong. Switching to a back five, there was no need for it. And also, there's just so many problems. Like one of them switching to a back five and putting Justin in a back three, which we know works, but second game in, it wasn't the right decision. And we didn't have the right personnel. But then you're thinking about, he went out and signed a person to do exactly that. And I've been kind of hoping for the fact that Yannick Vestergaard, that was going to be his role. I genuinely don't think there's a Leicester fan that I want him in the side. I was so glad when they dropped him today and Daniel Lamarte came back, but these things aren't excuses. It's not good enough, man. And I'm beyond the point of anger. It's just acceptance now. But I think from what we hear, I think you were saying just off camera as well about James just in comments that the players are starting to understand that now as well.
Yeah, when you kind of really dive deep into everything that's been going on at the club, there's been certain mishaps that has occurred, and that's one thing. And you go, well, that happens with every club. But then things have happened more than once, more than twice, 3 or 4 times, and that's when you start questioning. And we've given Rodgers the benefit of the doubt on numerous occasions, and not just myself. Neil, you have too, and there's been many of us that have been that have really given Rodgers the benefit of the doubt. But it's for me personally, I was really hanging in the balance of being like, how am I feeling about Rodgers? And right now, that is, over the state of our play over the last, I'll say it, over the last 3 seasons. Sure, we have won the FA Cup. Sure, we had finished 5th. But we've had the quality that we should have won. We should have gotten Champions League football, and and then this season you can't give any excuses at this point. And then when you have a performance against Spurs, on Wednesday that is abysmal to say the least, and then you expect the players to come out today. I don't care how many players we're missing; they're all professionals. You expect them to come out. And you expect them to deliver an incredible performance. Because let's be realistic here. Sure, Brighton are currently 9th in the table, but Leicester has a far better squad than they do. So that's just saying that. And when you bring up the mentioning of James Justin, in his comments, let's talk about a guy who's been out of the squad for a year. He's back in. It's his first game back in the starting 11. And those are the comments that he comes up being like, I don't understand this whole, back five nonsense. Really, I was questioning, Rodgers, coaching and tactics and all that prior to the game. But seeing comments like that from players, especially a player that hasn't been back in a full year, and that's his comments back after, that first full game back. And that's the type of comments that he's coming out with. You're going, Rodgers doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Rodgers really is just kind of, the way that I look at it is, how we always talk about players having their heads turned? In my eyes, Rodgers has had his head turned.
What is this truck coming?
Drop now. But no,
Yeah.
like,
Do you know what a
you know,
diss is? You have a diss in Canada?
yeah, distract, yeah, yeah.
Okay, no worries. For
Oh,
some
yeah.
reason, I thought it was a UK thing. Anyway, but yeah, it was. Again, as you were saying, that of the thing at the moment is with the way that Rodgers is playing, it's just not happening. And I've at least it's got through to the players. I've tried to keep it positive. I've tried to keep it like this was the game. And people like Glenn is the most. He's at times he's been on the show, and when we lost against Newcastle 4-2 last year, and he was more positive than me.
Mm,
Even he came out to give you one example. But people in general, from being at the ground, from speaking to people that are just like around, and they're just going, it's not good enough, man. Listen to the crowd reaction. I don't know if you heard it on the telly. There was boos. There was
oh,
towards the
yeah.
end. It was so agitating. You probably feeling the same thing from being at home. But it was again, it just seems like everything is going in one direction, and the direction is not good. I mean, it's one thing I think we've not mentioned because again, I've been busy. I've not managed to do a preview to this. Rodgers' comments
Mm,
about not finishing, about going, well, maybe we're talking as far as we can, aka from what I was trying to decipher this because I don't think it was as obvious as he's trying to say. I think he was trying to say I need more money to improve the squad. But in reality, I think he spent over 200 million. I mean, Arteta spent that same amount of money, and then he's getting up to in 3 years as well. So it's a similar timeline. So you're looking at it like that, and you're going, well, there's um there's something definitely wrong here, and it's not a money issue. It's more than that at the moment.
I would agree with you on that. And, for Rogers to kind of throw out those types of comments is one thing. But, the way that I also view this is like when you look at the players that a manager brings in, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Rogers can complain all he wants about funding, but when you spend the last of your transfer budget on someone like Yannick Vestergaard, there's nobody to blame but yourself. Because let's be serious here. We could have probably grabbed a center back at this, in the January window, probably for cheaper, and he'd probably be better
Mm.
than Yannick Vestergaard. The fact that you have someone like Daniel Amartey, and this is nothing towards Amartey, who, goes off to AFCON and comes back and is getting a
And
spot
starts.
ahead
Mm.
of Yannick Vestergaard is just saying that, the thing that makes me question that is like, so why'd you spend 15 million on this player if you're not even going to bloody play him? Like
And you
that's
play a
one.
player of you bring on. Ideally, you'd bring him on in the middle. You put
Yeah,
just in a wing back position,
yeah.
but you don't trust him to do that.
So, so you're dealing with this. So those comments frustrate me because you can't blame anybody but yourself in this situation now. It's like, well, you're the one that wanted Vestergaard. Has there been some players that he signed that have been fantastic? Absolutely. We saw it in Daka today. He's been fantastic. But, moving back to the game, we were winning 1-0. And around the 50th minute, I was like, when is it going to be a 1-1? Because it was only a matter of time. Because as soon as Leicester scored, it kind of seemed like we just kind of went into like this park the bus mentality. And it was like, we can hold off for another 40 minutes here. And it's like, when did this happen? Last season, we would just continue to attack, 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 and we'd probably win this game last year, maybe 3 or 4-1. But
Mm,
this year, it's just there's no it's inevitable that you know what's gonna happen. And as soon as the game was tied up, you knew. Like, for me, I was sitting there watching the game, and I'm like, "We're gonna blow it in the last 10 minutes. Like, we are
mm,
gonna blow it." And there are so many opportunities that Brighton had where it could have easily been 2 or 3-1, and I wouldn't have been shocked. And, the fact that we as, supporters are just getting to the point where we're like, "Yeah, draw, whatever." Like,
mm.
that's where I'm at. Like, I kinda saw it, like, I was like, "Well, we got a point," but I'm like, "I don't really care. It's not 3
The-
points."
from the ground, it felt like a loss. From the
Oh, yeah.
ground,
Oh,
from everybody, they were booing. It was not good enough. And again, the game should have been killed off in the first half, and the
oh,
fact that it
hands
wasn't, and that's partly that. But I remember seeing when I was starting to see a friend in London, but he supported Liverpool, and I remember watching the performance where we played against. Liverpool played against Man United, and he was going, "Look at what we're doing," and we're trying. They were trying to walk the ball into the back of the net, and it was pretty much deja vu. It doesn't help that obviously you've got, but that squad is good enough to finish off that game. And there's at times where Brighton are a great team. They're a great team. They will finish like a mid-table, which is still a great result for them with a great manager and a great squad. But today they weren't even at the races. We've seen Norwich play better than them. They were not good. And the fact that and then Brendan Rodgers came out in half time and says these comments were we played well. It's not good enough, Brendan. It's not good enough from the team perspective as well. They didn't know what they were doing. We didn't know how we were going to defend. We didn't know what football we were exactly going to play. And he's turning into a little bit deluded Brendan once again, unfortunately. And again, it's somebody that I have a lot of respect for, the way he manages, the way he's brought players up. But now it's come to a point now where the shelf life has expired, I think. And that's not, I think we're getting to a point now where in this part of the season, getting 20 games played. I'm just trying to find the statistics at the moment in terms of the table. Where are we? At 10th place, we've got 8 losses, 7 wins, 5 draws.
Average. And that's being polite.
Yeah.
Because when you have a season like last year where we didn't leave the top 4 the entire year, that's something incredible. And yeah, sure, we can say that a bunch of clubs this year have gotten stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should have been in that list too.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're seeing is that we've gotten weaker. Our defense is just pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm just so sick of even talking about that, because that's been our biggest issue from the start of the season. That's been our issue since last year. It's been the same thing. Our defense is horrible. Evans is out, so when Evans is injured, you can't rely on him. Well, he's done. So Soyuncu looks lost by himself.
Even when Evans was back, the game was Villa. Remember the Villa game where we were dominated?
Yeah.
It's not just a Johnny Evans issue.
No, and it just shows you that the whole defensive mentality is lost. And I feel like I'm a broken record on this, but I even mentioned it being like, we can't rely on on a veteran Johnny Evans. That's like relying on a veteran Wes Morgan. Inevitably one of them's they're going to get injured. And I think Johnny Evans is a perfect example of that. Everyone's like, oh, don't worry, we got Johnny Evans. And you're like, no offense, but Johnny Evans has been dealing with these injuries, it seems, for the last 2 years. So if he has a bad injury, it could be the end of it. I wouldn't be shocked if Evans is done. I don't think he's coming back for the rest of this season.
In April, and that's when he's coming back. He's going to take time to adapt.
He's not going to be fully fit. He could easily, retweak something, and that could be the end of that. Soyuncu's not reliable. Let's be serious here. Vestergaard, he might as well just plant his butt on the bench, because I don't want to see him back on the pitch. So that means you're dealing with Daniel Marty, who is probably the more reliable center back, ironically. And then
this season as well.
Fofana, I'm hoping, is going to be back next month, but he's not going to be at the same level that he's normally at. So who do you put back your options become a mid-level, Soyuncu, who is extremely unreliable with Daniel Marty, and you pull off Fofana off the bench, or you get Vestergaard completely off the bench, or you put Chowdhury or Ndidi in the back. We're talking about players that don't normally play in those positions, except for aside from Fofana, and and that's and so and then when Rodgers mentions the fact that he's like, oh well, I'd like to have people in the back, but it's probably not going to happen. You start to even question it more, being like, yeah, if you managed properly, and you managed which players you brought in on transfers properly for reasonable, acceptable fees, we'd be in a different position. Because I don't think, Top's, I don't think Top's views are the same as what, I feel like Top and Susan Whelan are probably listening to these comments that Rodgers is bringing forth in these pressers and being like, we are not on the same page as this. So
we didn't spend 125 million in the new training ground, giving you a new stadium. We're not expanding the stadium to 40,000 people for you to finish mid-table. You're not getting 10 million pounds a year to finish mid-table. And this is not, again, you can say this in a really angry way, but you can just say this in a very honest way.
Yeah.
your actions and your actions and what you stand for and what you said when you first joined the club to challenge the top six on a consistent basis. Now we have done that for 2 years. Granted, there were still mistakes, no problem. We will accept the mistakes. But now we're coming to a point where we're not even anywhere near the top six. And some people
No.
have got in the comments looking at it going, I think we had this discussion, I think off camera, going, okay, now we're in the Europa League, Europa Conference League. We should go and win that. Now we're in the FA Cup. We need to have a go at that because the Premier League season is pretty much over in terms
Yeah.
of trying to finish in the top six, kind of done. Top 10, maybe, because there's quite a few teams. We can look up, look down. There's quite a few of them at the moment.
Yeah.
My thing is at the moment, Brenda's record in Europe is not great. We lost to Legia Warsaw for no reason whatsoever. We lost to Napoli against when they were playing the under-23s. We drew today's game where it's Brighton, a good side, but they were there for the taking. And they didn't, when they clicked into gear, we got scared and put our tail between our legs and hid, which is a very, very strange mentality from the fearless foxes that we once used to know. I've got a feeling that again, I'm hoping we beat Nottingham Forest, but it's not looking. I'm not going into this game happy about it or like confident about it. And also with the Europa Conference League, not to be that great, not to be that Debbie Downer, but honestly, how I'm feeling at the moment is that Brendan Rodgers' record in Europe is not great. This has to be what he's trying to do. I hope that we go and win it. But if he doesn't, for his own sake, if he wants to go on to a bigger club, say he wants to go on to a Manchester United, say he wants to go on to another club like that, he has to at least win the Conference League. You can't be getting knocked out of the Conference League. And I fear that's what will happen once again. And that's just me being completely honest. And again, because I'm kind of tired of this, but at the same time, I know from what I'm hearing a little bit as well, the club will sort it out. And that's the main thing, I think, Alex. I know I've had a little bit of a rant there, or a little bit of a low-class rant, but the club will manage to do what's right for the club. When Ranieri was fired, I was absolutely fuming. But now I see it and go, it totally makes sense. When Shakespeare was in charge, and then Puel was in charge, and then they will know how to do it. And I think it was we'll have to see what happens. But I think overall, it was I've come to the acceptance now that this is how it is, but I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing. But it's not like we can just get rid of the manager and then just get a new manager in, because he is ingrained in so many different levels of the club. And also, before, when we got rid of Ranieri, we put Shakespeare in charge for the rest of the season. When we got rid of Puel, there was Brendan Rodgers ready to go. I don't know if there's that person ready to go in this situation. So that's my little rant.
No, and I agree with you. And the confidence level going into Europe, we're talking about the Europa Conference League. We're not talking about some like grand stage, competition in Europe. We're kind of talking about like the kazoo level of instruments when you're talking about competitions. It's not too exciting. And when you bring in Rodgers' European record, it's basically it's on par with the Conference League, just pretty like lame in that sense, pretty pathetic. So and we're playing this this club Randers, and this is nothing towards Randers, but when you look at the squads and everything, we should easily win this game. These those matches, hands down, no issue. But I would not be surprised if we lost, like not at all. Like, and if we did lose, I'd be like, well, we saw this coming. We can't win. What, if we can't close out a game, we can't beat Legia Warsaw, this isn't shocking. So, like, for me personally, I wouldn't be too shocked at the same time. So, like, and it's not like we're talking about this big, European, champ, we're talking about the friggin' Europa League conference. It's nothing.
League One and Championship, lower Championship level teams, legitimately. Let's be real.
Yeah, like it's just to me, it's just like everyone's. I know some people are trying to remain optimistic and excited, being like, "Well, we're still in Europe." It's like, but are we? Last year, we wouldn't have been in Europe. We got booted out of the Europa League, and that was it. And then when we're talking about the FA Cup and Forest, I don't feel confident. I really don't. In most times, I'd be like, "Yeah, we're going to go into this game and we're going to go move on to the next round."
Mhm.
I don't feel the confidence, and I was just kind of looking at, the comments, and Ethan just said that, Forest just beat Derby, and there'll be a level of confidence, and Leicester's
And
going to
that's
be
their
going into
main rival.
yeah, and Leicester's going to be going into this game being like, we'll do our best,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
maybe
We were right up
we,
for this,
like
and then it's come back.
if we win, basically the way I see the mentality right now is that as soon as they score, we're gonna just park the bus and back five and just hope and hold on,
Mm.
and that's just the mentality that we're at, and the way I see it is we're not going to go far in FA Cup, we're not going to go far in the Europa Conference League, and at the end of the day, if we finish mid-table, I'd be happy. I could see us finishing as far down as 14th. Would
Yeah,
not
I
be
agree.
about it. And at the end of the season, there's going to be a lot of questions, and I ultimately it's going to fall on Rodgers as it should.
Mhm.
It really should.
Yeah, no, you're right. It should fall on Rodgers in the way that we are doing it, and I see it's again somebody from the Helnick Foxes. Again, I'm glad you're so positive. It's just about being realistic here. So I think they lost 1-0. Yeah, I think it was yeah they would lose it for me. It was I've seen your comments as well about Ryan Bertrand, and it's not. I don't think it's luck. I was preparing to give Ryan Bertrand some time and the Yannick Vestergaard some time to bed into the squad. What I've seen it enough. I've seen enough from them to say, yeah, that's it's not acceptable. And not just that, but even Brendan's clicked. But I was surprised that Brendan again. Just a couple of positives potentially. Um, One of them was the fact that he was not. He was. I thought he was stubborn enough to play Yannick Vestergaard in this game. I genuinely thought he would play Yannick Vestergaard because he's kind of no, he's my signing. I know he's good. Let's put him in. The fact that he changed that was good. I think Justin was really. It was nice to see down that right hand side, defensive cover wise and attacking wise. It was nice. But these are small things. Dewsbury Hall again was good. Daka, I don't think was feeding off scraps, but he still managed to score, which was good. There are some small positives, but overall there are massive gaping holes, and it's overall it's not how Leicester City. Yeah, again, Ant puts in. Sorry, it felt like a one. Felt well 1-1 in the whole ground. We were begging. We were begging for that 90 minutes to finish. We didn't want 3 minutes extra time. We're like, just call the whistle now. Call the whistle now. Call the whistle now. Because the way that we played today, in terms of the tactics and the way that they turned into, you would have thought Brighton were a top four team.
Mhm.
The way that Liverpool come at you, the way that Man City come at you, the way that Chelsea came at us at
Yeah.
home, they came at us and they couldn't. They could have been 6-0.
Oh yeah.
Things like that in this situation. So we will have to see. And again, somebody's put it as well. I think without the error, Schmeichel did make some great saves today. Again, pulling it out the bag. If Brighton were clinical at times, I was there watching the match and going across was like, yes, a goal, and then they just skied it straight over the ball, straight into the stands. And more clinical teams put them away, and we're looking at an embarrassing result, an
Yeah.
absolute embarrassing result. And we don't want to get to the point where we've seen Ollie has been a joke this season. Let's be honest, with losing 4-1 to Watford, with them losing 4-2 to us. Ollie has had that had that, and I just don't want Leicester City to be dragged into the same position. It's nearly happened a few times, and just like this match, we were riding our luck throughout. And I don't know about you, Alex. Like, if we keep doing this, we will concede, and we did concede. I just don't want that to turn into what Ollie had at the end of his reign, because it is looking like that's going to happen, to be perfectly honest.
No, and that's the thing. And just to like go back a little bit with the comment about Ndidi and Nacho, yes, it's a great
Mm,
thing to have those two players back. Like I will say, like that's huge. But our biggest concern is not at the attacking.
mhm,
Nacho, like no offense to Nacho, I love the guy. Rodgers isn't playing him. So like he doesn't really add anything extra to the squad if he's not being played.
mhm,
Indeed, I think you and I can both agree that he has not been exceptional this year. He's been bang average.
mhm.
Sure you can slot him in at center back, but it's kind of like you're he, he's been bang average, and I think that's the most polite way to put it. When he has his good games, it's great, but he's had more average games than not.
Mhm.
Schmeichel kept us in today. We could have easily have lost this game. And I've said this time and time and again. But Schmeichel, he when he does come in clutch, and matches like this, you go, we'll take the point, but we wouldn't have had a point if it wasn't Schmeichel.
Mm.
Um, but I think you're right. Watching the game, even on the TV today, it was like I was around the 85th minute. A couple minutes just after Brighton scored, and I was like, just get rid of it. I just want this game over with. I was not enjoying it. I was literally like, let's just call the game. Like,
Mm.
where's the officials from the AFCON game and blow the whistle?
Yeah.
And it's like, seriously, I was waiting. I was like, come on, just do it, because there was no point of me really wanting to see this game out, because I could easily see us blow the game. And I really do think that if there was a minute or two extra in the extra time, they would have succeeded. That's how it
Mm.
was going.
Mhm.
And it just seems like we're nearing that point where it looks like the squad just has zero confidence, like whatsoever.
They're confused. They're
They're
confused, I think, as well.
And I think they're confused because I feel like what they see on the field, because let's be serious, these guys are professionals. They look at the game as, in ways that we don't. They look at the game in ways that Rodgers does, but they also
Mhm.
look at the game in ways that Rodgers doesn't. So when they're looking at it being like, man, we're getting hammered from the left side or the right side or down the center, and Rodgers goes back five. And it's
Mm.
like, no, what do you why?
Let's take Barnes off.
Let's take Barnes, and it's like you know what I mean? Like it's like
How does this make sense? Yeah.
and it's like, okay, so we see the errors on what we need to do, or we see the areas that we need to fix or really press on, but why are you telling us to just defend? Like,
Mhm.
why are you completely giving us the complete opposite instructions in this situation when we know there are better ways to do this? And I
Mhm.
feel like and then I think that completely goes with the confidence level. They're like, well, if our manager's telling us to do one thing that is clearly not the right way to do this, why are we even bothering?
Mm.
And it kind of looks like there's that frustration, confusion, even anger in some of the, you can just kind of see it in the way that they're playing, and there's just I and like you said it, there's no way that the club can sack Rodgers right now, because
Can't even
A,
sign a player on loan.
you can't do that. And you look at the well, if Rodgers is being paid the amount of money that he is being paid, in order to get rid of that contract, it'd be probably enormous,
Mhm.
a cash out it'd be huge. You can't do that.
Mhm.
You have no one to bring in at this moment. So I feel like at the end of the day, we're going to have to hold on to this and deal with this for the rest of the season. And it's
Mhm.
going to suck because we got months to deal with this. And we're going to be frustrating, and the fans are going to get, we're going to get worse and worse. As if this continues, we are going to be brutal, and it's going to be pretty toxic if it continues like this. But I feel like once the summer comes, depending what happens, like I said, it's going to go right back to Rodgers, and it has to, because what's happened this year, the comments and everything. Sure, he's done a lot for the club. Yeah, he's brought in an FA Cup, two fifth place finishes. But if
Mhm.
the comments like this are starting to come out, and we're halfway through the season, he could have easily, he could easily turn this around. But if these are the comments that he's bringing out after every game, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, if
Yeah.
this is the mentality you have, we don't want you here.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I'm just coming to these guys as well, and they do think they can turn it around in terms of that. I'd like to agree with you. I just don't think that I've been on that bandwagon for a while. I think Alex has known. I've been like, Rodgers can turn this around. He's a clever enough manager. He knows what he's doing. But how we've not even got back to back wins this season. It's something
Uh-huh.
that this just feels different. And people can say injuries, and sure, but it's about the performances. At a day when Brighton were nowhere near their best, it's probably, I don't know. I'll chat with some Brighton fans and see. I'm pretty sure that's one of their worst performances of the season.
Yeah,
And that was worse than the performance that they played us when we played at their ground, and they were all over us in the first half. Kind of similar, but they were in
yeah,
the reverse, and they sat back. But the thing is, they are a team that's learning and progressing and developing. We did the opposite in this game, And there was times in the midfield where they'd give the ball away sloppily, and we'd get the ball and we'd do nothing with it. What do? We'd give the ball straight back to them. And it was everybody was going, come on, yes, they're making mistakes, but why are we making the same mistake? It was almost like, oh, I don't want it, give it to somebody else. And the fans want the best for the club. I genuinely believe that you have the odd person that's just a bit stupid, but the majority of, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the majority of the fans, when you go down to the ground and you just meet them and you talk to them away from social media, because the social media is his other thing. When you go down to the ground, you meet them, you talk to people that have been supporting them for 40, 50, 60 years even, and what they're telling us, and a lot of them around us was just going, yeah, this is not happening. You can just tell from the body language and the crowd, and we're not an unreasonable fan base. That's why we're not coming on here effing and blinding and this is the best thing ever, blah, blah, blah. We need to just get on with what we can do. And unfortunately, I think that's away from Brendan. But I think the club have realised that. I think they've realised that kind of earlier on. But the thing is, we've just got to get behind the club and trust their decision. And that's something that we are privileged to say. Speaking to Spurs fans, speaking to Arsenal fans, that they go, we Man United fans at the moment, they're just like, what the hell is this? What's going on at the moment? It's supposed to be Ollie out, and then we're still playing whatever football, terrible football, even worse than us. So there is we have owners that are investing in us, in this team, in the squad, in the stadium, in the training ground, and we know we'll get there. And we've enticed some of the best prospects in Europe and in from Africa as well, in Patson Daka, in Samore. Samore was a big one for me. Patson Daka was a massive one, but Samore, because other people coming to me going, nah, how'd you get him? How on earth did you get him and we didn't? And that's something that we've never experienced before. Wilfred Ndidi was a who, and he was going to be a good player. Yuri Tillemans was a who, but Patson Daka was I know about him, and why haven't we got him? And that was the difference that I want to say. And for example, Maddison, people go, oh, he's a good player, but he's not ready for us yet. For example, James Justice was another one. Now they're looking at being linked to him and stuff at the moment. So we are in a good place in terms, not at the moment, but in terms of where we are in the look at Spurs. They were promised, Conte was promised all this money. He's not spent a single penny at the moment of his own money, and he was promised this, going through 2 managers, potentially even 3, because if he wants to walk, say, I ain't getting the money, I'm out of here as well. We are in a decent spot. We just need to get people back fit. We need to just reassess. We have to scrap the Premier League season in terms of where we finish and try and do something. But yeah, it's good. I don't know. I've kind of made half a point and just kind of like stretched it out to about 5 minutes long. But do you see what I mean? I think we are in a point where I trust what's going to happen, but it ain't going to be fun.
No, and I totally get what you're saying. It's basically, let's just ride out the rest of the season. It's basically that. We know what we're going to expect. It's going to be bang average. If we finish mid-table to as low as 14th, we'll take it. Let's be serious here. Let's do our best in the FA Cup. And, if we can do something in the Conference League, then cool. But, let's be serious here. Nobody really gives, two cares in the world about it. So I feel like it's just going to be one of those things where we just got to just deal with it. Roll out the punches for the rest of the season. Let's just mail this season and let's be serious about this, because I feel like if I'm not the only one who's saying this, and I feel like there's a large group of the fan base that have been saying this, that it's like when summer comes around, changes need to be made.
Yeah.
Players that have clearly had their heads turned need to leave, and we need to reshape the foundation, because we have a lot of young talent coming up. But the way that I always look at it is that if you have people that are here are here clearly for money or financial purposes, or wanting to excel and then move forward in their careers at different clubs, then that's fine. I don't care. But what I want to see at Leicester is a bunch of determined players that are going to come in each week and give it 100%. Have a manager that comes in and says, I'm ready to compete every week, and we expect the best. Not, we overachieved here, we overachieved here. I just want, like, as weird as it say, it's like the bare minimum of just, I want the team to actually perform for 90 minutes and have a manager that says, yeah, we've struggled, but our aim is to finish in the top 4 or the top 5 or finish and get a spot in Europe. That's all I want to hear. But when I hear things like, we overachieved, We have done far better than we've ever supposed to be in the last 2 seasons, and this is where we're probably supposed to be. It's like, don't want to hear that. Like,
We're the
that's,
seventh best, I think, in terms of value of the squad. It's the seventh best in the league, so that
yeah,
should be the minimum requirement is seventh.
yeah. So like, there's no excuses, like, and I think what we're gonna witness in the summer is gonna be huge because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of changes that happen,
Mm,
and I think as a fan base, I think we're all expecting that. I don't think there's a doubt in anyone's mind that we're going to see a lot of players leave.
mhm.
But it's just kind of the which players are going to leave. I think we've all kind of established that Yuri's going to be leaving no matter what. But I feel like there's going to be a few players in there that we don't expect at all that are going to end up leaving. But you
Yeah.
know what? At the end of the day, we just got to bide our time, deal with the remaining matches. Support the club because I
Mhm.
feel like at the end of the day, you need to still support the club, even if you're dealing with, if you're dealing with frustration with managers and some playing and whatnot. You got to support the club. So let's just get through the rest of the season and see what happens.
Yeah, apologies if my internet is going. I've just got the warning lights. I think one thing to kind of end on apart from that is that that's really threw me off the internet about this 280p resolution that I've got going on at the moment. But yeah, we'll rebuild. We'll see what happens because we have attracted some great talent over the years, and we will attract because the reason, from what I understand as well, Daka and Samore came here because of the project, not because of the manager.
Mhm.
It's easy to blame to say the manager is the reason, and it's a good reason why, but it's not the only reason. We can attract people like Daka, people like Samore, like really top quality talent from literally world class talent. Fafana, whoa, he can be one of the best players in the world in his position. The potential to him, and he's fulfilling a lot of that potential at the current moment. So there are some great players that are going to come through, and we're going to attract these players again and again. And they will move on to other things wherever they go. However, we will be here, and the thing is, if we looked at the under 23s, I think they put we look at the 4-1, for example, and the fact that the levels didn't change. That's massive. That's massive for us. We've got players we can do, and the development, the under 18s is one of the best in the league. The under 23s is really good as well. So there is a future that's going to happen. We're going to have to ride this one out. The point that I just remembered before my internet decided to go to potatoes was the fact that Claude Puel, we had the same position and roughly the same time with Claude Puel and Brendan Rodgers, but there was a transition. I saw Ethan saying about in the comments about he was saying the same thing in November. What can we do? But if we did lose him in November, the whole thing would have collapsed. The club would have prepared for Brendan Rodgers now to have left, or there would have been a procedure in place if that's going to be happening. And I think that's the difference now compared to in November. If November would have come round, I think the whole thing would have kind of fallen apart right there and right then.
No, 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 and I agree with you on that. I feel like if we sacked him in November or something happened in November to prompt a change, I think we'd be in a completely different place because you'd have a lot of players, I think, wanting to leave this window.
Mm,
You'd have we don't know about managers. I think there'd be a question mark there. Would we have just a temp manager just for the time being for the rest of the season because trying to deal with pulling in a manager mid-season is difficult.
mm,
So uh, where we're at now, I feel like you just got to roll with the punches.
mm.
We have Rodgers as a manager right now, and I don't think there's. I think the Rodgers out, the Rodgers out.
Brigade.
Brigade is getting stronger and getting stronger. And I feel like there's a lot more people that have moved the goalposts that are now currently, sitting on the fence and leaning much more towards that side of the fence.
Mm,
And that's just something. It's just something that happens. And it sucks. Everything sucks. Football's supposed to be exciting, and you're supposed to enjoy it. It's not supposed to destroy your mental health. So,
no.
hopefully, the boys can turn it around. But at the same time, it's like just roll with the punches, deal with whatever happens until the end of the season, and then plan a whole, get things sorted in the summer and just deal with whatever we have to deal with.
Yeah. It is not reactionary. It's facts. It's depressing. It's just a life cycle, and that's what it is. We'll come round. We were riding the highs. We'll get through the lows. We'll figure it out. We can always meme Spurs because that's always a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Alex, before we went live, we said we wouldn't get to 40 minutes, and just by that, we've just hit 40 minutes. We always manage to do it. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe. Any other thoughts before we finish? But I think we've covered pretty much everything.
There's 3 things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and Leicester bottling a 1-0 lead within the last 10 minutes of the game.
or a one goal
Yeah.
deficit or something like
That's
that. Yeah, no, I
accurate,
definitely get that.
yeah.
If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see everybody in the next video. We're going to see what happens because of the Chelsea thing. We might just get some panels on and see what happens, but we've got some good videos planned up. So make sure you subscribe. We'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.